we're going to be doing a quick GoPro guide and giving you a few tips and tricks to help you along the way. Right, so here we go. We're discussing the GoPro Hero 5 Black Edition, arguably one of the most high-tech action cameras on the market. Big and small improvements from the Hero 4. Nicer buttons, LCD screen built right in, 3 microphones that will work together to deliver the best possible sound quality and voice control. Most visible is the waterproof housing. You may notice that unlike its predecessor, the camera itself is waterproof, whereas before you had a waterproof housing and a regular housing. It's just built right in with the Hero 5. So before we get into the main tips, first let's just jump straight into using it. You can turn the GoPro on by hitting the mode button located on the side of the camera. You can also turn the camera on using the record button on the top. However, the camera will start recording straight away, then turn off as soon as you push the record button again. Swing the camera around to the LCD touchscreen and you can now see your framing. Tapping the middle of the screen will hide and show settings. Bottom left is to switch modes from video to photo to time-lapse. You can also do this by hitting the mode button on the side. So next up is the resolution, basically the quality of the video. 4K is Ultra HD, mainly for professional use or to crop in when editing. The resolutions go right down to 480p, but for recreational users it's best to stay in either 1080 or 1440. This is the resolution of most TVs, computers, etc. So next up we're looking at the frame rates. Simply tap and cycle through the different frame rates like so. Again, for recreational use, I'd recommend staying between 120 to 60 frames per second. This means that you can slow the footage down and avoid jumpy footage. Here's some examples of different frame rates when slowed down. Basically, the frame rates determine how smooth the footage is. The higher the frame rate, the more the footage can be slowed down. So next we're looking at the field of view. Cycle through the different options when figuring out your GoPro placement to see what works best. You can go from super wide fisheye to narrow. It's worth playing with the new linear, it's still wide angle but removes the fisheye warping you get with wide and super wide. Now if you want to get super techie, swipe left to get to Pro Tune settings. From here you can tap the on button and you'll have a bunch of other settings to change and play with. For recreational use again, it's best to keep this turned off. However, if you want to get the best possible picture out of your GoPro, it's well worth playing around in Pro Tune to get your shots looking just right, especially with shutter speeds and white balance if you're using the GoPro in snowy conditions. Swiping the other way, you can go straight into your image library. From here you can scroll through your footage, trim and delete. It's also worth mentioning that you can lock the screen to avoid any frustrating finger slips. Simply drag down and hit that lock button. If you struggle at all with the 2-inch screen on the GoPro, it's definitely worth downloading the app onto your smartphone or tablet. From there, you can control and review footage wirelessly. You can also mark footage to help with editing and reviewing. I find using the app really helps when picking the field of view. Connecting the camera to your device is super simple. Simply drag down from the top of the screen and follow the instructions on the app. Easy. Battery life is always tricky with small devices like phones and GoPros, especially in cold environments such as the mountains. Buying extra batteries is an option, however I find it just as effective to keep a power pack in your jacket or bag. You can simply plug the USB into the GoPro when you're not using it, which keeps your camera alive, and you don't have to worry about swapping multiple batteries and potentially losing them. Most power packs are light, cheap and efficient, so if you find yourself losing battery life often, then it's a good investment. To save battery life, you can switch off GPS. You won't get the features GPS offers, but if you aren't worried about those features, then I'd recommend keeping that off. Clean your lens, and I don't just mean whilst you're in waist-deep powder. It's good to keep in mind that the lens cap is detachable and replaceable if you ever accidentally scratch it or notice dirt underneath. Simply pull the cap until you see a gap appear, then twist. Our favourite mount is the pole. We featured this in our Hero 4 tips video last year, but it's worth reiterating just how useful this bad boy is. Extendable, easy to pack, you can use it to follow friends without getting dangerously close. Also, the pole acts as a really effective stabiliser. It takes out little bumps and shakes which are often found with handheld shooting. It's also worth mentioning that GoPro have updated their pole mount too. It's super easy to use and works on all kinds of things. I've popped a link in the description if you're interested in that. The chesty is also great for skiers to achieve the fast-paced point-of-view shots. Gimbal technology is also getting really big right now, and if you're wanting to get a really professional, stabilised sense to your footage, it's worth having a look at them as well. Also popped a link in the description.